Imagine a boy growing up among the ruins of war, a boy who watches his grandfather get murdered right before his eyes, whose home is burned to the ground, and who spends his childhood hiding in underground shelters while bombs fall all around him. Who would ever believe that from an environment like this, a future six-time Champions League winner, a Ballon d'Or holder, and one of the greatest midfielders the world has ever seen would emerge? Luka Modric's story truly feels like something written in Hollywood, packed with drama, action, tragedy, and triumph. A real story about survival. Let's take a look at how he rose from the shadows of war to the summit of world football. Luka Modrić was born on September 9, 1985, in Zadar, Croatia. He grew up in such a tiny place that it barely even had a name, a small stone house in the Velebit mountain region where he lived with his parents and grandfather. As a child, he herded goats in the fields, learned to hunt, and picked up basic survival skills from his grandfather. But in 1991, war broke out, and everything changed forever. The Serbian army invaded Croatia, forcing Croats out of their homes, killing anyone who dared to stay. Modrić and his family were among the few who chose to remain, perhaps thinking their small mountain house would go unnoticed. One day, his grandfather left the house to herd the sheep. As he worked, he heard noises in the distance, and before he could react, it was too late. Soldiers found him, shot him with machine guns, and left him to die. It happened only a few hundred meters from their home. Inside the house, the family heard the gunfire. And even knowing the risks, Luka's father went out to look for him. He found the body and dragged it back home, but it was already too late. That day, the family decided to leave everything behind and try to escape. As it turned out, this decision saved their lives. Just a few hours later, soldiers found the house, demolished it, burned it down, and planted landmines all around it to prevent anyone from returning. And to this day, the area may still contain mines. From that moment on, the family lived as refugees. They found shelter in the Kolovar Hotel in Zadar. For a while, things seemed stable, until the bombings began. People constantly rushed into shelters to survive. Luka spent much of his childhood in these dark basements, yet he used every chance he had to play football, even with a torn-up ball in the hotel parking lot. This was his life until he turned 11. After the war ended, he finally got his first real opportunity. He joined his first youth team, NK Zadar. Many worried he was too small and fragile for football, but it didn't take long for everyone to notice. The ball stuck to his feet as if it were glued there. His coaches also saw that he possessed extraordinary football intelligence for his age. It was as if the trauma had given him a seriousness and toughness that kids his age simply didn't have. 5 years later, it became clear it was time for the next step. He was taken to Zdravko Mamić, who at the time was just a football agent, but later became one of the most influential and controversial figures in Croatian football, and the biggest stain on Modric's career. More on that later. Mamić took him under his wing and at 16 arranged his first transfer, to Dinamo Zagreb. Expectations were high, but after only a year and a half, Modrić received difficult news. He was loaned out to Zrinjski Mostar in Bosnia, a league known for its physicality, often used to discard players. Since Modrić was never known for physical strength, many believed he would fail miserably. Instead, he became the club's savior, kept them in the top division, and shockingly, as an 18-year-old in an average team, won the league's Player of the Year award. But Dinamo still wasn't fully convinced. They sent him on another loan, this time to Inter Zaprešić, a smaller Croatian club, and Modrić dominated so much that halfway through the season they were already sitting in second place. He won the Young Player of the Year award, while Dinamo was having one of its worst seasons ever, fighting relegation. At the end of the season, Modrić finally earned his first decent paycheck, and without hesitation, he bought his family a flat in Zadar so they could finally live comfortably. In the following 3 years, Dinamo had no more doubts. Modrić became one of the team's saviors. As captain, he led them to 3 consecutive league titles and won Player of the Year twice. He became one of Europe's most exciting young talents, and Tottenham offered an impressive £16.5 million, making him the most expensive signing in the club's history at the time. At 23, he arrived in the strongest league in the world. But things started poorly. He suffered a knee injury in his fourth match, was played out of position, and Tottenham were in terrible form. Then everything changed when Harry Redknapp arrived. He recognized Modric's abilities, moved him to his natural central role, and built the team around him. The turnaround was immediate, only one loss in the next 10 games. The following seasons were even better. Tottenham finished top 4 for the first time in 21 years and qualified for the Champions League for the first time ever, where they knocked out Inter and AC Milan. Then, in 2012, Modrić earned another step up, a transfer to Real Madrid for just £30 million. Everyone knows his era at Real Madrid. Modrić became one of the best, if not the best, midfielders in the world and a club legend. His peak was the 2017-18 season, which earned him the Ballon d'Or. But what most people don't know is that this was also one of the hardest periods of his life. Here's why. His old agent Marmic, the same man who took him under his wing in Croatia, became one of the most controversial and influential figures in Croatian football. To reach that power, he did everything. Shady wartime deals, exploiting young players with brutal contracts, death threats to journalists, match fixing, tax fraud, bribery. He became one of Croatia's most wanted and hated men, and in 2018 fled the country to avoid arrest. Unfortunately, Modric's transfer to Tottenham was revealed to be part of Marmic's shady dealings as well. It turned out Marmic had forced Dinamo at gunpoint, literally with threats, to pay him and Modrić €10 million from the transfer fee. Modrić initially denied everything, but when he had to testify in court, he suddenly changed his story. This already looked suspicious, but things got worse when Marmic was finally convicted and Modrić was charged with perjury, facing up to 5 years in prison. Why he decided to lie in court remains unclear, but after siding with Marmic, Modrić became a national disappointment. Crowds chanted against him, public figures condemned him, but then came the World Cup, and everything changed. Modrić immediately took charge. He was named the best player of the group stage, led Croatia to win their group for the first time ever, and then to their first World Cup final in history. They didn't win the trophy, but in 1 month, Modrić redeemed himself completely. Eventually, all charges against him were dropped. Listing his awards would take too long. The 6 Champions League titles and the Ballon d'Or speak for themselves. Many believed that after the World Cup, at age 33, he would soon leave Real Madrid after 13 seasons. But he stayed until he was 40, and in the summer of 2025, he joined AC Milan, where he is still considered a crucial part of the team. Luka Modrić isn't just a legend of Croatia and Real Madrid, he's a legend of the entire football world. And if there is one lesson we should remember from his story, it's not the Ballon d'Or, the assists, or the trophies, but the fact that he proved one thing beyond doubt. There is no life situation you cannot rise from.